of APSA, welcome to the third technical session of the ASEAN Seed Congress Special Interest Group Cover Crops 2017 in Bangkok, Thailand. My name is Kunapon Pantunin, Membership Programs Officer from APSA. My full name may be a bit long to remember, so you can feel free to call me Kuna. As a Membership Program Officer, I'll be taking care of the technical sessions and study tours, and I'll be here to support you. Although my education background is not in forage crops, I acknowledge the importance of this session. I remember Mr. Bhupen Dubey, our SIG field crops chair, informed us about the growing market for forage seeds in the region. In the view of the growth of the global dairy sector, availability of hybrid in several crops, and the involvement of small and medium seed companies in the trade. So, if you are interested to join activities in this group, our chair, Mr. Bhupen, is here to update you in a moment about our exciting future plan next year. So let me not wasting time. May I invite the chair of this session, Mr. Bhupen Dubey, Global CEO from Advanta Seed, and co-chair, Mr. Muhammad Asim from Rajna Agribusiness in Pakistan, to be on the stage, please. May I also invite the chair of this session, Mr. Bhupen, for the opening remarks, please.
Can I request the members please come forward and take the front seats, please? If possible.
Good morning, and welcome to this session called Cover Crop. Thank you, Guna. First of all, let me congratulate you for being here. I remember with Dr. Dadlani, we were just in the morning, couple of exchanges. He says that we started this session sometime in Macau, and I was the one they invited to share my thoughts on. And there are a few members in the room, maybe 20% of it, 80% was vacant. Subsequently, when I see it here, so Dadlani Sahab, I think you may not be disappointed, at least more than half is full here. So that is showing the interest in this cover crop slowly and steadily. Before I go on with the proceeding of the session, I would like to share a couple of thoughts on the subject. Yesterday night, I learned that Indian seed company, Rasi Seed Group, their promoter we met, office bearer, and I learned that they have started a new domain called Cover Crop in their business unit of cotton and vegetable and cereal, one different cover unit, and to bring focus on that in terms of R&D, manpower, professionals, the team they are building up. My compliments to you. So that is a way to go. My thoughts on the subject is, when I started scanning the world around the growth opportunities in the seed sector, I realized that agriculture GDP worldwide is about $3.5 trillion. And in this, so far, GDP accrual used to take place in Europe, Western Europe, and the North American continent. They have reached to a plateau now because of the various regions. Next frontier of agriculture GDP growth is likely to be in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, because that is where the demand is. The point is, do we have the portfolio tailored for these socio-economic agricultural conditions? The answer is no. And when I learned about seeds in 2006 and 2007 when we bought Advanta, I started going to the farmers vegetable farmers, when we bought golden seeds, unicorn seeds, started building the business, what I learned that vegetable seed companies are the closest to the farmers in terms of their relationship. They are next to the extended farmer family, more closer than even the field corn seed companies, cotton seed companies, or agrochemical companies, or the fertilizer companies. The team of the vegetable seed company are very, very closer, and they influence each other very, very much. Another thing I observed, while vegetable seed company agronomists go to the farmer and explain to them the benefit of hybrid tomato over the OP tomato, but he is not looking at the cow or the sheep or other milk animal lying tied in the backyard, 4 or 5 head counts maybe, and what they are eating. They are not paying any attention to that. When I started paying close attention to that, I realized that to this cow or the buffaloes, what farmers are feeding, all residue of the farm. Farmer may be having 3, 4, 5 acre, 10 acre, and whatever is a crop residue, they feed to the cow or the buffalo. That is the food. And that is where I saw the opportunity. Now here is then subsequently I read a report of National Dairy Development Board, and they say that in Asia, the demand for milk and milk product is going to go up. But there are 3 areas Asian countries must pay attention to. Number 1, genetics of the animals, which is a job of the animal husbandry people, animal geneticists. How do we improve the genetic pool of the cow and the buffalo in these areas, which give more production? Second was the nutritional aspect. The current nutritional profile of what we are feeding to the milk animal is extremely poor, and time has come to really pay tremendous attention to that. And third was management of the farm, the animal farm, the dairy. Out of 3, we as Advanta, we picked up this second opportunity. I said, let's focus on this the animal nutrition aspect of it, and within that, forages was our forte, and we started working on it. And we have registered decent success in few countries. Internally, we had a discussion, and our team, as usual, any commercial organization, they believe that it's our secret, our ideas, let's keep it and work on it. I realize there is a very parochial thinking, especially when the market are expanding. More the player with the right mindset, better it is. And therefore, I realized that I discussed with Dr. Saab. I said, listen, APSA members, if we can bring their attention to this massive opportunity, my colleague Prabhakar will take us through, of nearly $17 billion business potential, and we excite some of the members of the APSA to start paying attention to this aspect, and they start building the portfolio via their real research and design the portfolio for this part of the world. If you can motivate 8, 10 key players in APSA, I think is a great opportunity for the member of the APSA to expand their business. So these are the thought processes behind the design of this session. Look forward to have your active participation, suggestion, contribution, criticism, so that we make this session one of the most exciting where the people look forward to session as we proceed further. I will not take much time. Beyond this, I would invite the eminent speaker, Dr. Ghosh, to come and take the floor. Before that, Kuna, can you just introduce Dr. Ghosh to the audience? Ghosh Saab, please. I don't have profile. Yeah, can you please read out?
So let me introduce Dr. Pk Ghosh, a former director, Indian Grassland and Fodder Research Institute, Jhansi, with 25 years research experience and one of the national leader in national agriculture research systems. Some of his remarkable contributions include community pasture land development, biofortification on pulses and fodder crops, nanoparticles to enhance seed quality, pollination dynamics in berseem seed production, seed standards in 11 range grass and legume species for maintaining seed quality, DUS guidelines, first time in forage oat, cowpea and gunia grass, etc. His leadership also won for his institute the best institute in the country in 2016. Dr. Ghosh organized the 23rd International Grassland Congress, first time in India, in 2015. He is the president of Rangeland Management Society of India and has been sectional president, Agriculture and Forestry Science, Indian Science Congress 2013. He is a member, National Steering Committee on Climate Change for Forest, Livestock and Land Use. Member, National Steering Committee for Fodder Development Program. Member, National Livestock Mission. Member, Gujarat Institute of Desert Ecology. National expert for developing a global strategy for tropical forages conservation in collaboration with ICARDA, ICRI, ILRI, and Crop Trust, Germany. He has 225 publications in high-impact international journals. Dr. Ghosh is recipient of 19 prestigious awards, is a fellow of 2 important academies, National Academy of Science and National Academy of Agriculture Sciences, and editor of many national and international journals. So I would like to request Dr. Ghosh come forward and speak with the members, please. Thank you.
Very good morning to all of you, Mr. Chairman, Co-Chair, Professor Dadlani, all distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. The topic assigned to me is forest seed sector in Asia, opportunity and threats. In my presentation, I'll cover how the livestock sector and forest seed is important to global agriculture and Asian countries as well, the opportunities and threats, and now also way forward. Now, coming to the background information, we all know that livestock contribute to 40% of total value of the world agriculture. This sector also contributes 50% of the agricultural GDP in industrial countries, and also 33% and growing and increasing in developing regions. Interestingly, this sector is a major player for employment generation to larger number of the people across the world. If we look into these slides, China has the highest consumption of the meat, but as far as the milk consumption and production is there, India is the number 1. 47.6 kilogram per capita per year, and the highest in production in the milk. After having said, we all know that traditionally these Asiatic farmers invariably rear cattle and buffalo, because this livestock provides stability to their farm income, because we all know that the income from the livestock is the daily income, but the crop-based income is the seasonal income. And that is why it gives the stability, the livestock provides the stability to their farm income. At the same time, this livestock also takes care of the livelihood of the small and marginal farmers, even under climatic vulnerability and the market fluctuation in case of the field crops. Now, the situation is same in case of India, because it also gives the sustainability of the income. We have been experienced that even under severe drought situation, the 70 to 80% of the farm income are assured through the livestock. It is a established fact through estimation from the India that income from the milk is much higher than the value of the income from the paddy and wheat in Indian condition. Now, if we compare the livestock population in Asia and other countries, 52% of the livestock population is in an Asian country with the milk production level of 39%, but the per animal productivity is very low. It is 774 kg per animal. And here is the hitting point. In contrast, Oceania, having 1% of the animal population with 4% of the milk production, has the highest per animal productivity. Now, if we find out the reason why it is so, the clear-cut message is that if in Indian condition, the feeding system is mainly crop residue based, and we know the nutritive value in the crop residue, be it with rice, be it with wheat, it is nutritional value is very, very poor. But in comparison with Australia, it is totally pasture-based or concentrate-based. And this is the basic difference of why the productivity level per animal productivity in Asia is low. And if you, in Australia, there is two systems exist. System one, graze pasture plus other plus concentration. You see, 1 ton concentration during lactation per animal. And this matters. Now, as I mentioned that the average milk and meat productivity is 20 to 60% lower than the world average. We have analyzed the factor. This is the major 4 factors, the responsible factor, and the feed and fodder deficiency contributes 50%. I quote it, I underline it. Once we talk of feed and fodder deficiency, it has a direct link with the availability of the quality seed, which is the most critical factor for forage production in developing countries. Now, before 1980s, there was no seed policy, and this import of seed was restricted, not the grain, but seed. Even after 1980, we could not achieve the target. The simple reason being that roles of the public and private sector are not well defined. There is a missing link. There is no complementary action is there. Invariably, the private sector, they have a choosy. They pick out and select the hybrids and low volume. They are concentrating on hybrids and low volume seeds, not the high value seeds. And also in many countries like India and Pakistan, the seed acts are very old and rules and acts are very old. So we should have a new seed policy. Now, if we are opting for the new seed policy, what should be the consideration? Yes, we all understand that private sector are investing huge amount of money, particularly in crop improvement, biotechnology, and production and marketing, but less concentrating on the conservation and maintenance. So this is one. But on the other hand, the public sector, they have a less investment on research, particularly in the forest research, but involvement, the involvement is more in conservation and maintenance. So here is the consideration in new policy. We should have a win-win situation in a PPP mode. Now, the very important aspect is the social responsibilities. Yes, this is very important in a new policy if we opt, because in Indian situation, I am giving you an example. Sudden rise of cotton price was a great concern to the cotton grower, and government had to intervene to resolve this situation, the issue. So, why I'm telling, because the livestock farmers are generally small and marginal farmers. They have a low purchasing capacity. We should make a note of it. So the social responsibility should take place in our mind. Then quality assurance. I think the seed certification is not in place, so it's not compulsory in your case. Now, other opportunity for a seed sector. It is estimated or indication that the value of global forest seed market may increase from $10.7 billion US to $17.5 billion in 2020. The same is the case of the cumulative annual growth rate, maybe up to the extent of 8.4%. Now, having said this, if it is so, then Asia Pacific, although has a smaller market, but expected to have a robust growth in the coming years because of this expected growth rate. Now, in most of the Asian countries, we understand that the huge degraded land and wasteland exist. In our Indian condition, we have a 120 million hectare degraded land. So now if we target the degraded land and also this wasteland for restoration, I think here the seed important of the seed is here, and seed cultivation are expected to boost up because grasses or forages plays a greater role in for restoration of the degraded land. Now, almost all the Asian countries are importing. China imports the grass and legumes. India, Barsim, we all know. Then 50% of the forest requirement of Thailand is being imported, and Pakistan is also importing alfalfa. Now, this is some of the scenario that China and Japan, they are the larger importer, and it is followed by the Saudi Arabian and West Asia, and then the third place takes place is the USA. Now, other opportunity, as I mentioned, that Asian country has a larger population. We need more fodder, because in India, you know that 35% deficit, green fodder deficit is there. So here there is opportunity. We need seed, we need fodder to feed the larger population, animal population. Yes, so far we are dealing a very limited range species, particularly Bracharia, Sancras, and maybe Stylo and Guinea. The seed pelleting, because we know that's very small size seed in case of range grasses, and it is not easy to handle. Seed pelleting is a technology, technology is in place, so it needs upscaling for commercialization. Here, the seed industry may take a greater role. Now, I think now many of the government is now in concern for this biodiversity park. I think here is an opportunity. Then, yes, mining sites. I think in many places in India, huge mining sites are there, sown pasture and tourism hub. So, and the forest, here the forest. We all know that there is a debate that in forest, grazing is not allowed. There are so many pros and cons. But can we grow pasture in the forest with a win-win situation, with a greater collaboration with the forest department? Yes, we have also vast area of the forest wetland and fallow land, so this should be targeted. And here is the hitting point. If we target only the seed production, our cost-benefit ratio may not be that much high. So we should target both forage and seed production. Now, this is a threat. In Asian country, 97% of the farm are having only 1 to 3 herb size. But in contrast, in Australia, 63% of herb size is 100 to within the range of 100 to 400. It is more than 100 times more. So here is a threat. Now, another threat is the non-availability of statistical data for forage and seed production, particularly in India. And also stagnated area. And during last 4 decades in India, the forest cultivated area is only 4% of the cultivated area. 8.4 million hectare of the cultivated area, only cultivated area. So then if we compare with the developed country, you see the forest crops occupied second largest area even after cereals, leaving behind the oilseed maize potato. And then, very few well-established forest seed companies in Asia, particularly in India. I think Advanta is one. I think they are coming forward. But in developed countries, there are so many well-established forest companies. Now, scope, yes, I think I have mentioned that pasture, government. I think what is going on? Only a very small area we develop the pasture land or improve pasture land. Government should have an agenda, larger area. For example, Brazil. In Brazil, 42 million hectare area under Bracharia, under the government action point. Can we think so that our seed sector can be boosted up? So then farmers realizing the economic use of good quality forage in place of, because nowadays the concentration is very much costly. Production cost is costly because of the concentration in a commercial dairy. Because of these, farmers are now realizing the economic use of good quality forage. Then biodiversity, restoration of biodiversity I mentioned, and then here the private players may play an important role in seed supply chain. Now lacuna, as I mentioned, that very limited, we are dealing with a very limited species. There are so many species we can deal with. Now in case, and with the species also, the nutritive value is a concern. In case of dairy, high quality forage is needed. None of the perennial forage we deal meeting the criteria. Now, supply system is dominated by the government organization. It needs further support for strengthening seed supply chain. Then low price of seed in many countries. And I think this needs more research and extension activities on the forage. Now, there are constraints starting from the production level to policy level. Now, production level, the very important constraint is that less land availability as mentioned, only 4% in India, 4% is sacrificed only for forage production. Few variety in seed chain. In India, we have 190 forage crop variety, including the range species, but hardly 30-40% are in seed chain. Here is a big issue. Then lack of hybrids. Even in a cultivated fodder, there is no hybrids in India. What to talk about the range species? Now, research level, I think there is no priority for forage crops. Then breeding is difficulty, particularly in the range species, because we know that asexual fertilization is apomixis in nature. Then technology dissemination. Now here is a point, multiplication. Our missing link, breeder seed production is not at absolutely no problem. Foundation seed production absolutely no problem, but from breeders, foundation seed to certified seed is a problem. There is a missing link. Because here these few private players are involved. There is no government subsidy. Government seed production agency are not coming forward. Then very few private company like Advanta are coming forward. So here there is a missing link. So here is a point that we have to strengthen that foundation seed to the certified seed. Now farmers level constant. This is another problem. Farmers cannot wait for the seed production up to the seed production because they need fodder. As I mentioned, in India 35% green fodder deficit is there. They will not wait for the seed production, definitely they will opt for fodder. Now, if we only opt for seed production, as I mentioned, that production cost will be increased. So we should go both for fodder and seed. Then less attraction and lack of knowledge and awareness. Now production constant, as I mentioned, that seed chain should be perfected. Here, the many partners' involvement is needed. Then this is a concept that farmers' participatory approach and seed village should be taken in place, and then development of production. It is not like that Barsim is targeted in all the location. In India, Barsim should be targeted in North India, and then brachiaria should be in South India like this. So production niches we should find out, and then a vast area that in plantation crop, in between the space between the plantation crop and horticulture crop can be utilized for fodder production and seed production. This is an opportunity. Now research constant, and I said that for field crops, variety-wise package and practices availability is there, but in case of fodder, I think absolutely no package and practices for variety-wise. Then there is another problem with the range species, that is low seed to ovule ratio. How to increase that? Then seed quality standard. We should have a uniform seed quality standard for all range gases for taking the international market. I think there we lack. Then low cost involvement, this is another issue, because we know that say for example for Guinea, there is non-synchronous maturity. and also shattering during immediately after maturity. So we need a harvesting machine so that it can ease for harvesting and also to check the shattering loss of the guinea. And in India, hardly we release 5 to 10 variety for forage crops. It is much lesser than the field crops and fodder crops. So we should keep a pace of release of new variety. And then hybrids, as I mentioned, absolutely there is no hybrids available in forage crops, particularly cultivated forage. Now policy, this is another issue. The seed replacement ratio is very, very low. It is 2 to 3%. How to increase up to 20%? Then reliable data I mentioned, it is absolutely not available. Subsidy I mentioned, we need subsidies so to promote, to encourage the private partners, the linkage for development and linkage and the international market for quality seeds transaction. Then mega development, government assurance through mega. As I mentioned, I have given example for Brazil. They have a government commitment, 42 million hectare under bracharia. Can we have in our country so that the private sector can join hand? Now this is a good model for seed production. Absolutely no problem, breeder seed for breeder seed production. Agriculture university, animal husbandry farm, even private sector can involve for breeder seed production. Foundation seeds, I think that's same partner can be involved. But here is a point that there is a missing link between the milk cooperatives and the private sector. If there is a good linkage, I think private sector can get much more boost for seed production in case of forest seed. I think some technology is available. I think here is the opportunity for the private players. We know that in grasses, 30 to 40% seed filling. How to detect, how to separate out from the unfilled. Here is the methodology, is very easy. I think it needs upscaling. In vitro, as I given a mention of that Guinea grass, non-synchronous and shattering. So only a single intervention, just before maturity, if we spray 100 ppm hormone, IAA, I think it gives a synchronous maturity. I think this is the technology in place. It needs to promote our upscaling. Then, and you know that in all grasses, the seed setting is only less than 20%. By spraying this hormone, we can go for the double seed setting. So this is the beauty of this technology. Now, we have a technology that a floppy seed, how to go for deflopping. We use that simple cotton batting. How to go for commercialization because because it one quintal of this or this cotton, this thin grass gives only 440 gram. So it is floppy seeds. High density nursery, yes. Now we are talking about the biodiversity park, pasture and others. Here the perennial grasses. We all know that seed production is not possible in many of the grasses. Here the propagation through the rooted slip. Here, there is a market for the private player. Now there is a technology, high density nursery, close spacing by the biomodal stem cutting. The technology is perfected and it is a quick multiplication. Within 7 weeks, it is ready. Because we need a larger number of this stem cutting. So this is the technology, it needs upscaling. And also it consumes less resources and reduces the labor. Because so far we are doing through the rooted slip, it is a bulky, not easy to transport, so it is easy to transport and time saving. Now future development, I think I have covered all these aspects. International market, we need is uniform seed standard to catch the international market, then expand suitable high-yielding forest species, then degraded land I mentioned, so this is an opportunity, and common forest seed quality standard I already mentioned. So thank you very much. for giving me opportunities to sharing experience of Indian Grassland and Fodder Research Institute, India. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ghosh, for this very informative presentation. Now, I would like to request our fellow members, if someone have any question about this presentation, please. Anyone? Sure. Your introduction, please. Can you please come forward and have a mic over there?
Andreas Weiss, Secretary General of International Seed Testing Association. I fully agree with you, of course, that certified seeds are very important and that there's a quality for the seeds. I just wanted to mention, from my knowledge, also the variety of cattle used in India is completely different to the Australian ones. So the milk production may also be related to that.
Yeah, milk production. Yeah, in India, the problem of low milk and productivity per animal is the breeds is one. It is a non-destructive type of breeds. And also this fodder, because as I mentioned, it is grazing base, mainly grazing base and only called crop residue. No fodder availability during the peak period. So that is one. And then as major concern, the seed availability.
Yes. I only wanted to mention that also the variety of cattle could be very important if you want to increase milk production per cow.
No, that research is on through Indian Council of Agriculture Research for improvement of the breeds. It is going on. But at the same time, as I mentioned, that 50% contribution from the feed and fodder, so that is also important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or suggestion? Any comment? Yes, please.
Hello, I'm Manas Chatterjee from Benchbio, India.
Little louder.
Manas Chatterjee from Benchbio, India. So very interesting presentation. So I want to ask you, why hybrid creation is a problem in forage crop? Is it there is no heterosis or there is no germplasm? Is it known? Is it like wheat? One question. And the other is that why are we not introducing other very well-known forage crops like safflower, which is very popular in New Zealand and Europe, which has been shown to be very good for this animal, gas and all that problems and things like that. So, and it is a tropical crop. It was taken from here, I believe, to New Zealand and Europe. Any idea on that? Is there research on safflower or lupin and things? I mean, you showed some, but there are already established forage crops used in Europe. And what I have found is that companies in India are importing these forage seeds actually here. So can you?
Your first question is that hybrid, we have in Indian condition hybrid we have not, because some of the forage crops are leguminous in nature, and it is very difficult to go for hybrid for legume, particularly barsims and others. And seed production itself in barsim is difficult. And then, as I mentioned, that's range species. The seed production is difficult because it is of apoplectic nature. Getting sexual lines in range species is difficult. So research is on. We got in Sencras and Penicitum, we got the sexual line. So hope in the near future we'll get hybrid. So this is one. And that is why this is an opportunity that when we do not have any hybrid, I think here is a greater role to play by the private sector. They should come forward because they have a strong R&D. And they are also investing good amount of fund for this R&D. So here is a scope for this private sector. Now your second question, I think what you have second?
There are already established
Other species.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think here also, because we have not tested that material, what you have species that you mentioned. But yes, there is a scope, because Advanta, I think they are ryegrass. This is a very good scope in India. Locally it's called makhan ghas. But in North India, it is, the people says that it is replacing barshim into some extent. So this is a good opportunity. I think we can do that. We can test that material, Lupin, you are telling. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, let me introduce our second speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ghosh. Have a seat, please. So now I would like to call on stage Dr. Prabhakar Babu. Prabhakar Babu is the Deputy General Manager, Forages for Advanta Seed, a UPL group company. He has been with the company for over 20 years. Prabhakar is responsible for global forage program development and building the forage portfolio and strategy across many brands. He works as a consultant for forage development program and is a lecturer on modern forages and conservation technologies at Premium Dairy Institute across Asia. This year, 2017, he has been presented with All India Forest Production and Conservation Symposium Award. Mr. Prabhakar expertise and knowledge is recognized internationally, and his industry insights and interviews have been published in a number of agriculture and industry magazines, including Seed Times and Dairy India. Over to Prabhakar Babu.
Okay. Doesn't require. Thank you, Kuna. Respected Chair, Co-Chair, and all dear my friends. My name is Prabhakar. You can call me Prabha. Since 17 years, I've been working on forages in different roles. Not only in India but also in Asian countries and Africa and other European countries. The small knowledge on forage crops, what I have, I thought of sharing with you with a lot of encouragement that my CEO has given me to share the thoughts. And APSA also has given a good platform to get this opportunity for all the members of APSA, especially the forage business. Globally, it's been recognized very well known, but in Asian countries and especially in South Asia and East Asia. So because of poor fodder availability and forage availability, the milk production cost is going up, and the milk consumption is increasing day by day. Now there is very well statistics was established to reduce the cost of milk production through better genetics in forage crops. So as a private sector, what are the opportunities we have in forages? Basically cover crops, those who are using the farmers till now, how to make cover crops as a forages and how to improve the genetics of cover crops to make a better forage in Asia and other continents. As everybody knows, cover crops gives most of the value addition for the soil, but also coming days there will be a fantastic opportunity to use it as a cover crops forages for the animal feeding purpose. So in cover crops, majorly earlier farmers thought of it increases the organic matter enhances the mycorrhizal number, and nitrogen fixation will be from leguminous crops, and surpass the weeds. These are some of the advantages for the cover crops. And how, as a private seed industry, how we can replace cover crops with better genetics and make as a forage crops. That is the story now. I'll be just focusing on the opportunities in 10 to 12 slides. If you want to ask any questions, please ask me in the end of the session. Basically, there we can segment it in two types. One is tropical cover crops and the winter cover crops. In tropical, majorly it suits for the Asian continent for the summer and spring season. Cereals, sorghums and millets and forage maize are the major forage crops. In legumes, alfalfa and other pulses. And in grasses, rhodes, bracharia and setaria, napier grass are the major range grasses. In winters, as you rightly you know better, alfalfa and barsim are the major revenue crops. Apart from that, oats, barley, wheat are the major crops in South Asian continent. So in other crops, recently turnips, rapes, buckwheat and chicory are picking up very well in Asian continent. These crops are migrated from oceanic continent. Coming to the opportunities, we have $17.5 billion of opportunity for seed industry in the form of forage crops. So these was given by different market research estimates. The first one, Modern Intelligence, they have been focused and estimated around $22.1 billion of forage market by 2022. And coming to Allied Market Research, the global forage market size will be expected will be around $20.6 billion by 2022. And the current estimates they have, the forage market is around $11.6 billion. And they also expected around 8.5% of CAGR up to 2022. And the Transparency Market Research, they are also estimated around $17.5 billion by 2020. And the CAGR was 8.4% of CAGR. Now they are estimating around $11.6 billion of forage market currently. And this report is bought by APSA for their members. Thank you so much for the APSA committee and SIG committee on forages. They purchased this data and make available for all the members of APSA. And Technonavics also they have estimated around $14.5 billion. And Context is another market research company. They also expected around $8.6 billion and $13.3 billion in global forage market. So this report is bought by Advanta and they are available for the members. If you want, I can share it for you. All the market research guys, they are saying there will be a very good growth in forage market, not only in South Asia, but also in Asian continents and oceanic. Coming to the area and volumes, currently according to the 2014 estimates of Transparency Market Intelligence, so the volume is around 217 million tons, and in revenue it is $10.7 billion. And they were expecting around by 2020 it will go up to $17.5 billion with 350 million tons of seed volume. And the CAGR is 8.2%. Coming to the forage market segment, contribution by regions, and North America is with around 35% currently, and second is Europe, which around 28.5%, and Asia and Pacific is around 26.1%, and rest of the world is 11.9%. This will be transmitted by 2020 will be like 31.1% in North America, and Europe will be 26%, and the Asia Pacific will be 29.8%, and rest of the world will be 13%. If you see the slide, there is 2 regions will be in growth phase and 2 regions are in decrease mode. So the growth in future will be coming only from our region, which is basically APSA region. APSA members, they can easily notify their the opportunity in the region with very good volumes. And the crop-wise estimates, so as per the Transparency Market Intelligence, alfalfa is currently having around 2.6 billion dollars of business and will be increasing in 4.3 billion US dollars with 7.2% CAGR. In clovers, it is currently now 2.6, will be 4.4, and ryegrass will be 2.4, is now in 2.4 and will be 4.3. All put together with around 10%, 10 billion US dollars, they are estimating around 17.5 billion US dollars with 8.4% CAGR. Coming to the crop-wise market estimates by Allied Group, here they are also expecting the same growth in the conventional crops, but the forage sorghum is the major growth will be, they are expecting in with 14.9% CAGR from 1 billion US dollar to 1.7 billion US dollars of business. And coming to the opportunities in Asia and Pacific, 8.2 billion US dollars will be our opportunity by 2020. The crop segments will be alfalfa 17%, clovers will be 26%, ryegrass will be 15%, chicory will be 12%, others will be 5%, forage sorghum will be 17%, and forage millet will be 5%, and 3% of forage maize. Coming to crop-wise acreages, in million hectares, we can see alfalfa will be around 13 million hectares, and clovers, basically Pakistan, India, Egypt, these continents, these area will be dominated by clovers, which is around 20 million hectares, and ryegrass is 11 million hectares, and forage sorghum is 13 million hectares with highest in 12.6% CAGR. And post-rainy is winter crops are having 50 million hectares, which is basically legumes are the dominating crops in post-rainy crops. Coming to the revenue crop-wise, alfalfa is around 1.5 billion US dollars, clovers will be 2.3, and if you see forage sorghum, it was around 1 billion US dollars and it will be for 2.1 billion US dollars with 14.8% CAGR. So if you analyze all the crops, so forage sorghum will be the future crop in continent like Asia, because our climatic change is dramatically changing. The climate, earlier the temperatures were a little bit less, now it is picking up every country. Because of high temperature increases, the existing forage crops are going to give lesser yield. To replace with the existing crops, forage sorghum is the better option for us. Coming to the business potential by milk and milk animals and the productivity and the prices compared to global forage, global milk or global feed, these basic statistics will give us the glimpse how the market is going to be an opportunity for the seed companies like us. If you see in the chart, China and Japan are the major forage import countries. They have China is having around 50% higher milk prices than the global milk prices, and also 50% higher feed or concentrate price compared to global prices. In Japan, it is 164% of milk prices is higher than the global milk prices. So why these milk prices and the production cost is very high is most of the countries, they depend only on the concentrates or silage, so that the cost of milk production is picking up very, very high. If you want to reduce the cost of milk production, we should focus on high nutritive, high digestible forages, which is cheaply available for the farmer. Coming to the identification of right customers, I feel vegetable farmer is the best farmer for to develop the forage market, because he is having only small land holdings, no dedicated forage land for him because of no land is available, no crop residues like field crops. These guys, the forage farmer, the field vegetable farmer doesn't have any crop residue to feed the animals. And he is very good in ROI, return on investment. He can calculate easily because of high value crops he grows. So he will definitely will be our targeted customer. And how we can motivate the vegetable farmer to grow it? Like intercropping, we can educate the farmer on to go for intercropping with vegetables. Bund farming, to check the wind flow or pest attack, you can grow for bund farming. De-infestation crops, soil enrichments, trap crops, and crop rotation. So easily to, because de-infestation now in Australia, high HCN or prussic acid sorghums are being cultivated in Australia to control the nematodes in soil. Basically, the soil in vegetable crops or vegetable fields, infestation by nematodes will be very, very high. To control the nematodes, sorghum is the best crop to check it. High HCN or prussic acid sorghums can be grown and plow down in the soil, that will control the nematodes easily. So in Australia, that is one of the practice farmers are practicing now. Coming to the key players, it may vary by crop to crop and segment to segment, but as per my observation, sorghums are the major hybrid seed production crop in forages. Advanta is Syngenta, New Farm, Pioneer, these are the major players. In alfalfa, Forage Genetics, Alforex and SNW are the major players. In grasses, DLF, Barenbrug and what is that other one? Matsuda is the other one, the other company in Europe. And clovers, all the companies, you can name it, it is there on the chart. Coming to the sorghums, for Asian countries, we can call it as a king of summer crops because it requires less water. It is having a diverse usages. The varieties, the hybrids are identified in different segments. So these crops were identified for better digestibility, better adaptability, low in prussic acids, high in sweetness, but high energetic crops, high protein crops. You can name sorghum is available for us. This is forage sorghums, Sudan sorghums, and sweet sorghums, BMR sorghums, brachytic sorghums, low prussic acid, and dual purpose sorghums. Every type of sorghums are available globally. Coming to the probable threats for your forage business and opportunities, largely open pollinated, except sorghums. All other crops are largely open pollinated. As this may be a better opportunity for us, we can easily make very good hybrids out of the forage genetics available, and we can make a market about that. And small and unorganized players, those who are concentrating only on the trading modules, so they will be threat sometimes. If they make good quality and they can join with the bigger companies, that will be a very good opportunity for that. And perennial grasses, largely range and pastures and cultivated Napier grass of stuff. We cannot make seed production, but they are very good in forage production. But these grasses, they require a lot of water compared to seed propagation forage crops. So coming to perennial grasses, because nowadays the bracharia, sataria, these grasses, seed is available nowadays. We can think of, private sector can think of marketing the seeds in the required forage lands. And forage conservations like silage making, forage pellet making, these kind of conservation technologies are coming in the forage sector, and that can be a good opportunity with seed companies like us. If you give suitable silage making hybrid, farmers will be for us. And crop residues like enrichments, crop residue like paddy crop residue, wheat crop residue. Now government is pumping a lot of money to enrich the crop residues and make available for the animal as a fodder. And SMP prices, we cannot say this because it is not there in our hands. It will be volatile. And as a private industry, we should focus to educate the farmers and control the cost of milk production. that he can do because it is there in his hands only. So as a companies, as a technical person, we have to educate the farmer to reduce the concentrate feeding, which will be impacting the milk production cost, and change the traditional forage crops to high value, high nutritive, high digestible forages, so that he can get better milk production with a cheaper cost of production. And government interventions, in some of the countries, government is giving subsidies and motivate these small farmers to go for a better forage cultivation. And it's a Q&A session. If you have any questions, you can ask me.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Prabhakar, for your presentation in detail. So I would like to request the audience or our fellow members, if someone have any question, please come forward.
Thank you so much
Okay,
for listening
you.
to me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prabhakar, for your excellent. Sure.
I'm Rajendran from Rasi Seeds. See, is there any study which talks about the conversion of this feed into milk in a proportion, or I think we have not seen anything regarding that.
I could not able to get you, sir. Can you repeat the question once again? You can talk.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, there is a particular formula is available with veterinarians. If you put the dry matter and the nutritive values in the feed, it will give you the output of milk 95%. So there is pre-formulated formulas are there. We can check with the veterinarians.
Any other question?
See, before Dr. Ghosh, when Dr. Ghosh was presenting, I have noted down three key points for seed companies like us. Majorly, the total seed business in APSA region driven by three countries. One is India, second one is China, third one is Japan. So in India, we have fodder deficiency. We have restricted a lot of crop seeds imports. Because of seed availability concern, the farmers could not able to feed adequate fodder to the animals. So even though we are around 35 to 40% of fodder deficit, so we have opportunity for seed companies to make that fodder availability through genetics or seeds. But whereas in China, they import annually $35 million of seed from other countries. So because of that, they could not able to find any fodder deficit, but they are importing seed. So we have opportunity to sell our seed in China. In Japan, as their imports are around $18 million from different countries or different crops. So as a seed companies in Asia, we should look after the opportunities in India as a deficit country. Japan and China are importing countries.
Then I'll have to come.
These are my contacts, phone number and email ID. If you want questions personally, you can send a mail to me, or we can chat whenever there is a time.
So thank you very much, Mr. Prabhakar, for your presentation and everything. And please have a seat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So now I would like to request Bhupen, Mr. Bhupen, who is the global head of Advanta and chair of our cover crops, to come and summarize both presentations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Dr. Ghosh and Prabhakar. A very interesting session. I must say, a lot of homework you have put in and collated various perspectives, put your thoughts, and made the presentation which can be useful to the APSA members. Just to key highlights which I picked up from Dr. Ghosh's presentation is a forage forage crop and especially seed production of this is a real opportunity, business opportunity for the private sector. A very interesting aspect which came to my mind for the first time, I think degraded land because of various reasons. India could be mining, China could be industrialization, some other country could be urbanization, which is leading to the degraded lands. And degraded lands are, how do we put it to productive use? And one of the use could be for cover crop or the forage crop. It's a very brilliant idea. And there's something which is very interesting takeaway. Yeah, this is an issue actually, data availability regarding land use as well as crop use. In fact, what we have studied, Prabhakar also had made a presentation about 4 databases we have taken. As a sector, many of the companies, we also buy databases around the world on the market, segments, sector, etc. What we observed that the data quality and availability and timeliness is great for the Northern Americas and the Western Europe broadly. When it comes to market data or estimate or the forecast, availability related to Asia, Africa, even Eastern Europe are real challenge. The timeline and therefore it's important that as an APSA member, we become a little more open because we serve ourselves by doing that. And as a first step, I encourage APSA management committee that let's start subscribing to the database. Also, some of the private sector companies have a good databases. For example, we believe that we as Advanta has a decently practical database on the forages around the world, which are more practical. And we have become open, like some of the slides which Prabha had shared with you are proprietary database of Advanta Global. And we are more comfortable in sharing with it with simple reason that more we share the data, more planning we do it for R&D and investment, etc. And more market expansion takes place. And then we all of us gain out of it. So to me, it's not a competition, it's a matter of collaboration and expanding the cake of the segment and share out of it. Another point Dr. indicated was need for the engagement with the government, especially for policy areas like germplasm exchanges, inter-country trade linkages, etc. Standardization of the quality parameters for this sector of the business. Very good example we shared with us that Brazilian government took a very bold step of covering 42 million hectare under bracharia. I think for their own requirement, Amazon areas, they wanted to save it, ecosystem, they wanted to save it. So they make it compulsory for the agri conglomerate to go for it. So it's likewise, some of the countries may do it tomorrow, China or India, when they come under pressure from the environmentalist. Cost of milk is going up, and one of the reasons is higher use of the concentrate. Now, why higher use of concentrate? Because of easy availability, plentiful by the dairy sector and other entrepreneur. And also lack of availability of the forages, which is about 30-35% depending on the estimate or source we are using it. So here is an opportunity. More forage, green fodder supply are ensured at a competitive price. The consumption of the concentrate will relatively come down in a right scientific ratio, will also help farmers to reduce the cost of production. Most important point he highlighted is invest in the R&D. I think seed replacement rate in many countries in this region is about 3% only in forages, while in a hybrid tomato is 70-80%, sunflower 70-80%. Even cereals like wheat is about 30-35%. So if this is the kind of seed replacement rate, forages having 3 or 4 is not sustainable. It's important that we as a seed sector, APSA member, take this task to how do we increase and participate in this and to take it to 3% seed replacement rate to 6 to 7% in midterm and going forward maybe 15 to 20%. Here is an opportunity for us to grow. So here are the key highlights from Dr. Ghosh's presentation. Coming to Mr. Prabhakar, thank you Mr. Prabhakar to bring in a lot of practical angle from a private sector where he covered the benefit of the cover crops, which are not only economic benefit to the farmers, but also to the ecology and the society they operate in, because agriculture system in the Asian continent are very fragile. And there has to be multidimensional aspect to any segment growing. That means not only economic benefit to the farmer, but also impact on the soil use, impact on the water use, impact on the overall societal balances and in income. So it's important to keep this point in mind while designing the portfolio. For every business entity, when they go to the market, it's important to design the portfolio. What is the different thing we are going to do as an organization? That is where the value addition opportunity comes in. It's important that each one who want to go ahead with that doesn't go ahead only with the opportunity for the trading. Trading definitely is an opportunity, is a low-hanging fruit, whereby in advanced economies there are a lot of product, a lot of management practices available. We can modify and bring it and fit in these countries. It's instant opportunities available. Some of the player can take a role. We are also playing a big role in this area, but that is short term. While doing that, it's important that a 5 to 10 years program is developed, where the research and development plans are in place with a definition of the portfolio in mind. Prabhakar also shared with us the opportunity. While he was sharing the market data, it comes to my mind. Globally, which are the growth sectors within the seed industry? Is it a corn? Is it soybean? Is it vegetables, wheat, sunflower, or any other oil crops? To my mind, when I scan the market, the one thing comes out is that the forages and cover crop are the biggest growth opportunity. Number may vary depending on the sources you use, from currently $7-8 billion market to $17 billion market. Will it be 17 or 16 or 14? Doesn't matter. What important is that highest growth relative terms is available in this sector. But is it going to happen just like that? No, it's not going to happen just like that. This will require investment, serious investment in R&D. The way vegetable seed company start doing a research on tomato, they will ask what my customer likes it, size of the tomato, taste of the tomato, color of the tomato, transportability of the tomato, etc., etc., etc. Time has come for the same vegetable seed company to ask the questions, what my buffalo will like, what my cow will like, the palatability, what impact it will have on the health, not only production of the milk, but the health of the animal. All those factors we must start listing, we must start mapping, and then and advise our breeding team to develop the product which are taking care of those requirements. I think very important input, Prabhakar, you said for this purpose. He also highlighted that vegetable farmers are ideally suited for development of the forage crops. The reason is the way he takes care of the plant and agronomy and micro details. Same attention if he start paying towards his own 4 or 5 cows or 4 or 5 buffaloes, I think his income will immediately impact, double. Also, it really de-risk his business model from cyclicality. For example, in some of the market today, I learned that a vegetable seed sector has degrown for the first time in 6 or 8 months' time in many countries. I was reading the latest reports. In these situations, farmers have an alternate source of income. Yesterday, I was reading the Nation newspaper of Thailand in the hotel, and the first news item was Thai government has set target of farm income. So they call it smart farm income, and the target is some 2022, 300,000 baht. And they started enrolling the young Thai farmers for becoming a smart farmer, and government is providing a lot of input and resources. Same way I understand Indian government also want to double the farm income. Now all those things initiative also are indicative that government policymakers are looking forward to new ideas, new opportunity, new indications. From APSA members as an association and individual, can we combine our resources together and prepare a concept notes and approach the policymaker and bring their attention, their resources towards forest sector? Are some of the pointers coming out of the Prabha's presentation. Also highlighted important the sorghum, not only as a forage crop, but also as a nematicide control, possibility of this, if there is HCN is more, etc., some technical aspect. So they are the key highlights of the speaker from the private sector, Prabha, and the public sector, Dr. Ghosh. With this, I summarize, I complete my summary, and thank you very much for your active participation and to this session. Thanks a lot.
So once again, thank you very much, Mr. Bhupen, for your excellent summarize both the presentations. Now, before closing the session, I would like to share with you that we are going to plan for 2018 a study tour of Australia. So timeline is tentatively soon after the ISF. We are already in contact with Australian Seed Federation, so for our study tour. So if some of you people join us in study tour, you are all welcome. And if you are come up with suggestions or anything, so you may contact our desk in the APSA Secretariat and try to come and join us for the Australia study tour. So thank you very much for your active participation and come all the way to listen us for 1.5 hours. And thank you very much. With these words, we are going to close the session. Thanks a lot.
So thank you, Bhupenji and Asim bhai, for this very interesting discussions which we had today. I have been there at the 4 congresses in the 14, 15, 16, and 17. And what I realized now is that the presentation which Mr. Bhupen made at the 14th Congress in Macau, that kind of initiated the interest in the mind of so many of our members, and they started looking at cover crops or the forage crops a little differently from what they were doing earlier. Thank you very much for initiating that interest in our members. And over a period of time, 2015, 16, 17, 16, we did not have any presentations, but we realized that we are bringing into our members various dimensions of this whole sector, the forest seed sector, and the opportunities which we have in this particular sector in the region. And as a token of our appreciation for this particular session today, we would like to give small mementos. First of all, can we present a memento to our chair, Mr. Bhupen? And our co-chair of this particular committee, Mr. Asim Bhatt, Muhammad Asim Bhatt. Now, may I request Mr. Bhupen, the chair of this committee, to give the mementos to our 2 speakers today. Dr. Pk Ghosh, please. And now, Mr. Prabhakar Babu. Thank you, everyone. Please enjoy your lunch, and then we get back for our session for IPR.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.